Row 18, plot 20.
Let's get dangerous.
Hey everybody, welcome to the JLA Member channel. Just going to do a quick review of the new Disney Plus streaming movie Peter Pan and Wendy. This just released on, I think, the 28th, so just a few days. It's an hour and 46 minutes, and it's a PG movie. It follows the adventures of a boy who does not want to grow up and how he recruits three brothers in London, and together they embark on a magical adventure on the enchanted island of Neverland. We all know the story of Peter Pan and Tinkerbell and Wendy. Let's go over this cast, and then I'm going to make a brief statement before I give a little kind of a review. It's hard to do a non-spoiler review since it's kind of a known story, but I'll do the best I can. Alexander Moloney is Peter Pan. Ever Anderson, Wendy Darling. Jude Law plays Captain Hook. Alyssa Wap-Anatak, Tiger Lily. Jim Gaffigan, the comedian Jim Gaffigan, is Mr. Smee. Joshua Pickering plays John Darling. Jacoby Jube plays Michael Darling. Molly Parker, Mrs. Darling, and the incredible Alan Tudyk. I don't know if I ever say that right. Mr. Darling. And Yara Shahidi is Tinkerbell. So, right up front, there have been some creative license done with this version of the movie. It does not take away from the movie at all, but there are people who may be of a certain age that will not want to accept some minor changes to the story that have been made with gender, there's some gender issue with the Lost Boys, and then I said issue, but it's not an issue. There's girls in the Lost Boys, which is kind of counter to the original story. The Lost Boys were lost. The reason why back then girls were not included in the Lost Boys was because it was thought that girls were too smart to be lost. That's why there were never girls in the Lost Boys. But apparently in 2023, girls are just as dumb as boys, and they can be lost. So, all right. And then for me, it didn't take away from the movie. This is not a negative or anything. This is just a me observation and how it affected my viewing of it. It took a little while for me to get used to Peter Pan not having red hair. And it also took a little time for me to get used to Tinkerbell not being a blonde, pale, white Tinkerbell. I'm of an age where my children were small when Tinkerbell franchise kind of took off, and they did this expanded Tinkerbell universe with other fairies, and each one of those fairies represented all of the different ethnicities. So there was a fairy of color already. So I immediately kept thinking of her when I saw this Tinkerbell on the screen. Again, such a minor thing, and it's a me thing, but it didn't take away from the movie. It doesn't take away from the movie. I think kids that watch this that don't know those other versions aren't going to be affected at all by this. My only thought is that if this had gone to theaters and parents of my age, or give or take 10 years, took their children to see it, the kids would be fine and not notice anything, and the parents would be like, I don't know if I like Tinkerbell like that. But again, it doesn't take away from the story. The story is visually stunning. There are, for the most part, some very great special effects. The sound quality is really good. It's just visually stunning. The locations that they used, the settings, the time period, everything looked really, really cool. It was very grandioso. It was very epic scale. The ship looked cool. I did think that they could have done a little better job with Captain Hook's look. Jude Law did a great Captain Hook, and he has a good rapport with Jim Gaffigan as Mr. Smee. But the look, to me, just instantly made me think of Captain Crook from the McDonald's characters. And that's because he had that front hat, the hat, and the shoulder thing. So I would have liked to have had a better look. So this movie was challenged by having to compete probably with most people's fond memories of the Hook movie with Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman. So that is a very beloved version, live action version of the Peter Pan lore. So again, there's been enough time that this will be a first time ever seeing live action Peter Pan for a lot of people. But there have been a lot of versions since, I think the first animated movie was 1953. So, I mean, that's 70 years. That's, 20 years older than me. So let me see if I've missed anything on my notes. The one thing that I was I'm a fan of Peter Pan. I've always enjoyed that story for a long time. I'm a Disney fan, and Peter Pan, Captain Hook in particular, are characters that I enjoy because I can relate to both. There's like key things that the Lost Boys do, and I didn't think they were going to do it. And as I was writing down, they never did cock-a-doodle-doo, and then there is one, and it's good. Big epic battle. The ship looks good. Everybody does some great action sequences. I thought they were filmed really well. Of course, there's the big crocodile in this. That's enormous, and it looks pretty cool. But I can understand why they put this direct to streaming, because I just don't know that Peter Pan is a story anymore that would garner enough attention from kids. Like, I think it's a good thing to have that you can just put on the TV and let it run, and kids will watch maybe. I hope it does well, but I can understand why it didn't go direct to the theaters and it went right to streaming. But it's a good film. I really am hoping that there's not going to be a bunch of hate thrown at this for some of the elements that I talked about race change and color of hair change and girls being in the Lost Boys and things like that. And I apologize if that's spoilerish. It's already got a 4.0 on IMDb, but again, it's really new, so we'll give it through the weekend and we'll see how this goes. There's a lot of attention being played for the next big live-action Disney production of The Little Mermaid, so this kind of flew under the radar a little bit. But if you have the time and you're nostalgic for Peter Pan and some of the old Disney, watch this. Have an open mind. Don't nitpick on those three little minor changes, because it definitely doesn't take away from the story. The story otherwise is very accurate, and it's just beautifully shot and just clear and crisp movie. All right, so that's all for me today. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, and thanks for stopping in.
So have your dream. Go on and sing your song. There's nothing wrong with singing out of tune. If people laugh and say your dream can never be, just think of me.